Hey guys, Dave here. Welcome to Centurion's Review, the punk rock band of wargame review institutions. Today we're doing a first look at Imperium, Empires in Conflict, Worlds in the Balance. It's from GDW. It's a Frank Chadwick game. To the Empire, which has ruled the stars of the Spiral Arm, the Terrans are the new barbarians, beating at the gates and vandalizing civilization. A common subject in science fiction is that of vast interstellar empire in conflict, of rival star fleets in battle, and of far-flung colonies in an interstellar intrigue. Imperium is a new departure in the fictional treatment of this entire subject. In lieu of a fixed storyline on the subject, such as in a novel or short story, an extensive framework of rules and information allows two players to pit themselves against each other, each attempting to best the other through the use of strategic sense and tactical expertise. The story is there, but the action and the ending are wide open. As players participate in the control of their own empires, the story is rewritten, in effect new every time. In most science fiction game situations, all players are created equal and strive to be the first to conquer known space. Imperium begins quite differently. A vast interstellar empire already surrounds Terran space, and the imperial governor nearest Earth seeks to gain territory, for victory will advance his career. Terra struggles to merely survive, husbanding strength for later expansion. Each player has distinct goals and strengths and must apply them strategically through the course of the game in order to achieve ultimate victory. In basic terms, Imperium is a science fiction simulation game utilizing a two-dimensional map of near-solar space at a scale of 0.5 parsecs per hexagon. Die-cut counters represent star fleets, troops, and other forces in the struggle for survival. Imperium is a detailed, well-balanced game of science fiction empires. Scenario generation rules allow continual enjoyment through many games. It can be played in an average of 3 to 5 hours, and difficulty level is judged to be average or moderate, and it's recommended for ages 12 to adult. All right, let's throw this on the table and take a look at the rules, take a look at the components, and so forth.
Alright, let's see what's in here. There's a board, we'll look at that in a second. Let's take a look at the counters first. Counters look like they're sort of unpunched, but they just came out of the thing here. That's about what I'd expect from an old, I think that's from the 1980s or something, game. As far as artwork, pretty simple. Maybe a little too simple. Looks like there's a dice in there, and this whole box here is a counter tray. That's kind of cool. Let's take a look at the map before we go through the rule book. Map's actually kind of interesting. You got a turn record chart here. Over here, you put your resource units. And over here, you have a terrain key. Here we have Alpha Centauri A, Alpha Centauri B. Do they have Proxima Centauri? That's actually the closest star to us besides the Sun. But I think Proxima Centauri orbits one of those. It's kind of cool. Procyon. And it looks like it's got the different paths to the different stars here. Here's a player aids. It's got a beam combat results table, missile combat results table, and here it's talking about using suicide attacks using beams and stuff, high intensity attacks and disrupted ships. And there's a planetary defense chart, planetary bombardment chart, and surface combat result chart. And on the back, it's talking about the counters. They have a beam factor, missile factor, and screen factor, which I assume is shields or something along those lines. Here's your Imperial intervention table and your production table. So it looks like there's production going on. That's interesting. And here's one for the other player. Here's a rule book. Rule book is 12 pages, including the optional rules. So it starts out going over the game components and then the star map. And here's the sequence of play. Terran player turn. Terran, which starts with Terran maintenance and production phase. Terran first movement. Terran First Combat, which consists of space combat subphase and planetary surface space interaction subphase, and then surface combat subphase. And then there's Imperial Reaction Movement phase, Imperial Reaction Combat, which has the same segments as a Terran First Combat, and Terran Second Movement and Terran Second Combat. And then the Imperial Player Turn, Imperial Maintenance and Production Phase, Imperial First Movement, Imperial First Combat, Terran Reaction Movement, Terran Reaction Combat, Imperial Second Movement, and Imperial Second Combat Phase. Here's going more into combat. There's even some refueling rules here, and transportation rules, and hyperspace jump rules. That's good. And you also have sublight movement too. Here it's going over the combat resolution. And it's talking about high intensity missiles and short range missiles here and suicide attacks. Disrupted starships and how to end combat. And here it's going into planetary surface and space interaction. And planetary defensive fires and surface combat. Looks like there's no real pictures in this book. It's all text. Here it's going over reaction combat. And here's the different types of starships. You have transports, tankers, scouts, and destroyers. And large cruisers, strike cruisers, heavy cruisers, and attack cruisers. Oh, also there's Imperial dreadnoughts, battleships, and monitors, along with missile boats, fighters, and motherships. Quite a few different ship types. And here it's going over ground troops, economic rules. And here it's going over something called the Glory Index. Here's your Imperial intervention rules. And it looks like there's a Civil War table, Imperial appeals table, and if you have peace, a length of the peace table, and attrition table. Interesting. Yeah, after taking a look through the components and stuff here in the rule book, I just don't have a clue whether this is going to be a good game or not. I guess I'll just have to try it to find out. But if any of you guys have tried this, definitely chime in and let us know how it is. Have a good evening.